Hi Shrey. Now I am going to answer the second question which you have asked yesterday. Your second question was that what's the difference between continuous evaluation and summative assessment? Number one. Number two, the grading. Which kind of grading is better in what condition? So there are two types of grading. We say one is a relative grading, another we say absolute grading. So first I'll take the first one, then I'll answer the second one. So when we say summative assessment means the assessment is conducted at the end of the semester or term or maybe academic year. But in a continuous evaluation, the same assessment, 100 marks assessment, is divided in different parts. So there may be midsem 1, there may be midsem 2, there may be assignment, project, and other type of component. Suppose it's a course which is lab based, then there may be some assessment based on the lab, like that. So this is the difference between continuous evaluation, continuous assessment, and we say summative assessment. This number one. Now the second thing, when it comes on the grading, then absolute grading basically focuses on the value. So absolute value. For example, if we get say 60%, then 60% will fix the division. If I get say 58%, then again 58% will fix the division. And therefore it is highly criticized because it is very difficult to categorize the students in such a hard way that even with 1% we can change the grade, and therefore it is very difficult to check that range. Again I am talking about the range, because suppose in some courses the second division rank is say 48% to say 59.9%, like that, and then 60% plus is say first division, so 60 to 100. Now we can check it that one who is getting 61%, another is getting 99%, has a huge difference in the intelligence, but the division, the grade is same. However, on the second division, you will find the range is lower. Now, therefore, you will find there are many academic institutions, they are not adopting this thing. The purpose is that they should justify the population distribution. So when I say population distribution means what? That the normal distribution curve must be followed in most of the cases when the size of the class is more than say 30-40 students. So if we are serving large class of student, then definitely it is always advisable that we should take normal distribution, and therefore this relative grading is very popular. So relative grading basically works on two aspects. Number one, that there should be a natural cluster. So the whole distribution, whole class should be divided in different groups, and then we can say higher side and lower side. This is one. The second thing, that if we are going in a very systematic way, then definitely it will be a normal distribution, and there is a standard way, that standard deviation and mean. So mean plus minus some standard deviation. Mean should concentrate on the middle value. So if there is a scale of 5, then the third will be the middle value. If the scale is 7, then the middle value is 4. So then we can give the weightage. For example, if we have a 5 scale, then we can say we can give a weightage at a scale of 10, for example. So highest is 10, and then this is A, and then say B like 8, C 6, D 4, and E 2. Now there are many discussion on this, that should we have a fail division or not, and there's a lot of debate on that. And in technical education, we do not think that we should give 0 marks, or we can say fail, to any learner. And the reason is very simple. Their attempts may be poor, we can take it, but if there is a continuous evaluation, it may happen that somewhere they are getting good marks, and therefore that good marks should be captured, because that is an incentive for a learner, and therefore we should not miss this thing. Now we should also understand that the assessment, the quality of assessment, the quality of grading has a direct impact on the academic process, means learning process. So we say teaching learning process, and therefore we should also assess the impact of different grading pattern, different say grading parameters also. So suppose if I say that 50% students are getting good grades, average plus in my midsem 1, then I should maintain this thing that that in the next semester, in the next midsem, there should be larger number. But we cannot say that 90% people are getting good grades. So if we find that the difficulty level can be increased, as a teacher we should increase. So when we run the course, there should be a progressive level. So when I say progressive level means what? Say 15 weeks course may be divided in different segment. Say phase 1 is a basic information, then little complicated, and then we can increase the complication level. And therefore we should design the assessment in this way. When we talk about the comprehensive examination, especially when we have weightage of 30-40 marks, then we should design in this way that the complex part should be there, the moderate part should be there, and there should be some easy part. And therefore every student should participate in this. That is the target. But everyone should not complete 100%. So if it is happening means that diagram, histogram we say, it's a skewed. So the histogram of the final result should not be skewed neither right hand side or left hand side. And therefore it's a very conscious decision by the course in charge or the teacher that how to design the assessment. And therefore when we are teaching and we are getting heterogeneous group, especially heterogeneous group, then we find that how to twist, how to change the question patterns, the design of the examination, many things. In an internal assessment, that is a benefit which we enjoy. Now, a second question you ask that if somebody is taking, say, absolute grading and converting into relative grading, I think it's a very wrong practice. The reason is very simple. The relative grading also differentiate between the courses. For example, in many technical programs you will find that the first year, especially first year, if there are 2 semesters in a year, then most of the semester they will provide you the basic elementary knowledge. But as you will progress in the semester, you will find the depth knowledge will go. So there is a concept of specialization, there is a concept of concentration, and for those courses again the difficulty level will be different, so the grading pattern should be different. And if we take only absolute value means what? I will give you a very interesting example from finance. So in first semester generally we teach accounting and financial management, but in the last semester in MBA what we teach? We teach say portfolio management, taxation, investment banking, like that. Now when a company takes students, what is their focus? They want to take for a specialization, not for generalization. So they do not check their grades in accounting or say financial management. They check the grades for the specialization for which they are taking, whether it is investment banking, say finance, whether it is HR, whether it is a marketing, operation. So the purpose is that they want to check this thing, the candidate is fit for that particular specialization or not. Then how they should decide? Now there is a glitch and we should understand. Suppose I got 62% in accounting, I got say again 62% in say investment banking. Now if we have absolute grading, I will get both the in the both the courses I will get the same grade. Now when we have a relative grading, it may happen that the class size has changed. So initially suppose there are say 100 students or 200 students in accounting. When we are going in an investment banking, there may be 30 odd students or say 20 odd students. And then if I am getting the same marks and with the same grade, it is not good. The reason is very simple. I am expected to have more and more knowledge of the subject, and therefore the whole class is growing, whole class is progressing, right, with that speed. Now if I am not progressing in that speed means what? I am sticking at my level where the class speed is higher. So the loss is that I am actually grading my learner in an incorrect way. Now it has an impact on the placement. So if I say, for example, you have a highest grade, say extraordinary or say A plus. Now if you create a larger gap, say 60%, 80% to 100% or 70% to 100%, means you are accommodating those people, right? Those who are getting 81% and 99% in a same group. Whereas it may be good in accounting, but it may be not good in the investment banking. And therefore, we have done the static parameter, which is incorrect. It should be dynamic. This is number one. The second thing, there's another flaw in that. That if we say less than 50% is fail, so what will happen? In an internal assessment, teacher taught know each other. And since they know each other, right, then they will know who is say giving me less marks or who is failing me, for example. Now there will be fear in the mind of a teacher. So what will happen? They will not fail to a lot of people, and they will not allow learners to earn the grades. They will distribute the grade because their life will be saved when they are giving higher marks. So if in any class there's no one is less than 50%, right, which is a very high range, then there's no danger for the life of the teacher. But actually there may be some students which deserve for lesser marks, but the teacher has not given because he has a fear the student get failed. Now it happens only where the teacher taught does not know each other. For example, competitive examination, CA, ICWI, company secretary's examination, where I don't know who is checking my answer sheet. There's no accountability of a teacher because nobody is teaching. I am privately taking these classes, and if I am getting less marks or high marks, nobody is accountable. Same happens with the civil services also. So there are many competitive examination where it happens, and since the teacher taught does not interfering directly, therefore it works also. But especially in a continuous evaluation and the university system, it is very, very dangerous. And if a teacher is giving wrong grading, there's a danger because we are serving manpower to the industry. So what happens? We are giving someone 55%. Maybe he is deserving for 35%. It means there is a question mark on my grading. So what will happen if the grading of any teacher, any course is challenged or come under any distrust? Then it has a direct impact on the image of the institution because teacher is doing his or her job, but the company is taking not on the behalf of a teacher, taking a company is taking on behalf of an institution. So institution has a responsibility, and now it is very difficult for any institution to monitor one-to-one to any teacher, any course, and therefore it is always recommended that in technical education there should be relative grading, and the progress of the class should be taken care. The assessment should be more and more independent, but one say assessment criteria should be dependent on each component. And I also recommend one very important aspect as a controller of examination and as a professor, I learned a lot of things. See, marks are a very good incentive for students nowadays. Now we can also bring one concept of academic booster, immune system. So when I say economic booster or academic booster means what? We can provide a one component. In that component, what we can do? We can give them a best. So suppose there are two, you can say mid-sem 1, mid-sem 2. Now at the end, we can create third one. So what is the benefit? Then we can say out of 3, we'll take 2 best. Now, as a teacher, as a course in charge, we should understand that first mid-sem should be a component as an installment. The second should also be an installment, but third should be an exercise to assess the pre-comprehensive, and therefore it should cover the whole course. Now people may say this thing that why a teacher should create one more course or one assessment, and therefore there is a very important thing that we can create that assessment only through objective. So there's no evaluation time. But we can cover the whole syllabus. And when we can cover the whole syllabus, which is say divided in 5 units, then it is very easy to find out good MCQ, conceptual MCQ, matchmaking, and variety of the questions which can be automatically checked by the machine, and where there is no subjectivity of the course in charge. So if we can provide these kind of assessment criteria, I think it will be better, it will be good, and it will create a healthy practice among the academic institution, and I think it will work a lot. Thank you.